John lived a normal life, woke up, ate breakfast, went to work, the usual. But something felt off, like a forgotten dream, a word on the tip of your tongue. He brushed it off. Just stress, he thought. One day, things got weirder. He bumped into the same woman twice, same place, same time. Odd, but coincidence happens. Later, he found a book on his shelf. He swore he'd never seen it before. The title? Puppet Master. He laughed it off. That night, John had a vivid dream. He was on a stage, spotlight blinding. A voice boomed, "Follow the script, John!" He woke up in a cold sweat. Just a dream, right? But the feeling lingered, like a shadow following him. He tried to ignore it, focus on work, friends, anything normal. But the feeling persisted. A creeping suspicion that something was amiss, something controlling his life. He just couldn't shake it off. The coincidences became more frequent. Always the same song on the radio, always the same news story on repeat. Even his thoughts felt scripted, like lines fed to an actor. Then came the blackouts. He'd lose track of time, hours gone, unaccounted for. No memory of what transpired. Just a blank space, a missing piece of the puzzle. Panic started to set in. He was losing control. He tried changing his routine, breaking the pattern. But it was no use. The script always caught up. The same events, the same faces, the same lines. It was like being trapped in a movie, forced to play the same scene over and over. His life, once so familiar, now felt alien. He was a stranger in his own story, controlled by an unseen force. But who and why? The questions gnawed at him, fueling his fear. John decided to fight back. If they wanted a puppet, he'd give them a show. He started making small changes, ordering a different coffee, taking a different route to work, tiny acts of rebellion. And then he felt it. A resistance, like a force pushing back, trying to steer him back on course. He was on the right track. They were watching, reacting. He wasn't alone in this twisted game. He tried communicating, leaving messages in plain sight. "I see you," one read. Another, "Who are you?" Silence. Then a newspaper left on his doorstep. The headline, "Man wins lottery." His lottery ticket remained untouched, a threat or a warning. The mind games had begun, a battle of wits against an unseen enemy. He was determined to break free, to expose them, to understand. But deep down, a chilling thought took root. What if they were always one step ahead? Section 4, All-Seeing Eye. The realization struck him like a bolt of lightning. They knew his every move, every thought. The surveillance was absolute. He was an open book, his life laid bare. He saw cameras everywhere now, hidden in plain sight. On street corners, in cafes, even in his own apartment. They were watching his every move, listening to his every word. Privacy was a luxury he could no longer afford. He tried to disappear, ditched his phone, his wallet, his identity. He became a ghost, drifting from town to town. But it was no use. They always found him. Like a beacon, his life was broadcasting a signal they could track. He was a rat in a maze, constantly monitored. His every move anticipated. The feeling of helplessness was suffocating. He was a prisoner in his own life with no hope of escape. Section 5. Checkmating the future. Desperation fueled his ingenuity. They controlled the present, but what about the future? Could he outmaneuver entities playing four-dimensional chess? He started making random choices, flipping a coin to decide every action. Chaos, he thought, the antithesis of their script. He saw flickers of confusion in their reactions. A misplaced prop, a line flubbed by a passerby. Was he finally disrupting their control? He pushed further, embracing the randomness. His life became a whirlwind of unpredictable actions. He was a rogue element, a glitch in their matrix. A sense of hope, however fragile, began to blossom. But then came the chilling realization, the chaos, the confusion. It was all part of the script. They had anticipated his every move, even his descent into madness. He was playing their game, by their rules. Section 6, Inescapable Fate. John slumped onto a park bench, utterly defeated. He looked up at the sky, a vast expanse of indifference. His fight was futile. They were always one step ahead, masters of his destiny. He was a puppet, dancing to their tune. His every action, every thought predetermined. Free will was an illusion, a cruel joke. He was trapped in a cage of his own existence with no hope of parole. The future stretched before him, a pre-written script he was powerless to change. He was an actor in a play he didn't audition for, forced to play a role he didn't choose. His life, once filled with promise, was now a bleak tapestry of preordained events. And the worst part? He didn't even know the ending. The thought sent shivers down his spine. He was living in a nightmare, and the only way out was to keep playing his part. A puppet until the very end.